It's 444, baby. What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl, Divine Priestess, stepping back in with y'all with more messages from Spirit. You already know what time it is. We're going to go ahead and clear this space and clear this energy for the reading. So to the Most High, the Creator of all, God, Spirit, Universe, Angels, Ancestors, Spirit, Guides of Divine White Light, thank you so much for clearing this space and clearing this energy and repelling any low vibration of demon, deity, entity, evil eye, hexes, hoodoo, voodoo, black magic, and curses, and so more to be Ashe. What's poppin', Shanice24? Thank you so much for joining the live, y'all. We are going to tap right into the vibes, okay? We're going to talk right about the energy that I was feeling today because, of course, I've been seeing a lot of Kevin Gates come across my timeline. And, you know, Kevin Gates is so funny because, you know, he's an Aquarius, first and foremost. I'm all about that Aquarius energy, okay? Aquariuses, we are so open-minded and we're very well-versed in some of the things that people are not, you know, open to. Hey, Angels A1 Roadside LLC, thank you so much for joining the live, love. But Kevin Gates is one of those people, you know, he's on that Aquarius energy. Hey, Jameer Monet, thank you so much for joining the live, love. Welcome back, baby. We already know Kevin Gates, first of all. He just be cracking me up because it's like you'll see him one day and he's popping his shit and he's acting a fool. And then the next time you watch him, he's just so, you know, conscious and spiritual and everything like that. Hey, boo. So, yeah, it's just, I just wanted to touch bases about this whole Kevin Gates archetype because he explains, yo, what's poppin', gang? So it's like, it's just so funny because, like, you know, I be reading the comments, of course. And, you know, a lot of people, like, I actually commented about Kevin Gates on one of his, I don't know if it was his post or just a random post about Kevin Gates, but I went on there and I was like, I said, everything this nigga saying is true, right? Like, he be popping his shit and he really be saying some real shit, right? But the reality is that, y'all, we have to understand that just because people talk like this, they don't mean that they have good intention with their knowledge. You see what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm just using Kevin Gates as an example because he's an archetype. To me, I use celebrities as archetypes, right? And what I mean by an archetype is just what people tend to identify. People will identify with archetypes, right? It's kind of like a stereotype in an essence, or like even with the tarot cards, right? You get the archetypes, like you have the high priestess, you have the hierophant, you have the empress. These are all archetypes that have like a selective amount of like traits and certain things about these people that you can utilize as an idea for a specific type of person, or personality traits and things like that. So when I be watching Kevin Gates, he's so funny because he be really popping his shit and he's very intelligent, very wise, right? But he's like a master manipulator, right? He like uses his intellect and his wisdom to dominate people, right? It's like you'll notice him being on like podcasts and things like that, and he be, like I said, he popping his shit, everything he's saying be true. But when you watch Kevin Gates on when he's not on that type of time, right, you see so many different levels of aspects of Kevin Gates. And it's like, if this is the person that you really were and you have all this wisdom and this intellect and you're so spiritual, then it's like, that's not how you carry yourself when it comes to other aspects and other people. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, it's like a lot of people will have this level of wisdom and intelligence, but why are you utilizing the information, right? If you're using it to manipulate others and dominate others and trying to just come across like you just the smartest nigga in the room, right? You don't have good intention with your intellect other than to dominate a room or try to be the man with he's Mr. Know-It-All, right? Because that's what I notice is like he'll use his energy to dominate a conversation, you know, on a podcast or something like that. So this is just an archetype that I'm using, is that when we recognize people like this, right? Because I notice people be like in the comments, right? And these people will come and fight you down if you say something negative about Kevin Gates. And they're just like, but they're looking beyond the point
of what is being said, right? It's like people would ride that man's dick so hard because he said something that was profound, right? He said he had this profound perspective, right? But this is what narcissists do, right? Narcissists are very smart. They know how to study psychology. They know how to read a book, and they know how to take certain profound information and use it to their benefit to manipulate people, right? This is my point, is to bring, I highlight a lot of information about narcissists, and what I'm noticing is that because they're, we're in the information age, and narcissism is a big topic now. Like everywhere you look online, you're seeing information about narcissism. So narcissists are getting smart, right? They're learning the ins and the outs of how to be recognized, right? Or not to be recognized, rather, you know what I'm saying? Or how to go under the radar, right? How to pretend to be empathic, how to pretend to be spiritual and things like that. And because I've been bamboozled by a few spiritualists, right? Thinking that because they're spiritual that they have all the good intention in the world. Meanwhile, they're just using that because they want to be like a cult leader, right? They want people to tap in and follow them. Hey, I am Ashley Dage. Thank you so much for joining the live, love. It's like they want you to allow, right, their wisdom and their knowledge to take the lead, so you can look up to them as, in a sense of like how cult leaders kind of look up to people. Like when you have, or not cult leaders look up to people, but how cult leaders will have followers, right? Hey, Daquan, the Celebrity 317, thank you so much for joining the live, love. So you know how like cult leaders will have followers, right? And these followers will be so gone, right? It's almost like hypnosis in a sense, right? Where you'll just follow somebody simply because you feel like they are more knowledgeable than you, or they have access to something. And then it's like you idolize certain people. You see what I'm saying? You can't idolize people just because they have certain wisdom and knowledge, right? This goes back to celebrity worship, right? Idol worship, right? When we give people more credit than they deserve, just because if you a dope artist or you a dope, you have this celebrity status, there's still a level of a point where we have to compare. If we're comparing ourselves, we can't look at you like, oh, you deserve to be on a pedestal, right? More than I do, right? It's like we give a lot of grace more than maybe necessary. We place people on pedestals that don't deserve to be there. And like I said, when I talk about Kevin Gates, he's just an archetype, and he's just an idea or a way to identify people who have certain knowledge and information. But it's if you're not using it for good intentions, if you're using it to control people, right? If you're using it to, there was another video that I had watched when Kevin Gates was like, I'm a god. They call me a god. You know what I'm saying? And in a sense of like, I understand in the sense of saying like, we are all an extension of God. God gave us, like, we are all in the image of God. So in essence, God has all made us individually, right, be gods in a sense, right? But not in the sense where you're a god, but I'm a god too, right? We're all at a level of God. We all as one, and together we all make up what God is, right? But the reality is that some people will utilize that information and their wisdom, and they will place themselves on a pedestal to be worshipped, right? And this is what we got to realize, is that, like I said, when I go in these comments and I make a comment and I say, Kevin Gates, ain't nothing he just said that was a lie, but he's still a master manipulator and a narcissist. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't just allow somebody, because they have all this intellect, allow you to not see their spirit. This is what I'm getting at. You have to still be able to read people's spirit and their intentions and their energy, despite of how well spoken they are, despite of how much wisdom and information they have, despite of how talented and gifted they are, despite of what opportunities they bring, right? Because that's what we tend to do, is just kiss ass because somebody is in a higher position that we are in, or somebody has access to something more than we do, and then we want to kiss ass, and then we turn our cheek when we recognize the bad intentions of somebody. You see what I'm saying? So this is all I was trying to bring up with this Kevin Gates archetype, because it's like Kevin Gates, I'm not going to say that I don't appreciate his wisdom, and I don't appreciate his personality and everything. He's funny, you know what I'm saying? And he's also an Aquarius, and I'm an Aquarius. So I can relate to a lot of things that he says, right? And when I watch him, I find him amusing. He's entertaining, right? He's a celebrity, as he should be, right? But I still see that spirit on him, the spirit of deception, right? The spirit of, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like he knows he's so intelligent, he knows he's so smart that he can get over on a motherfucker. Hey, Moneybags Monty, thank you so much for joining the live, love. It's like I said, I find Kevin Gates entertaining. He's wise. He knows a lot of information, right? But like I said, if your intentions is to just dominate, to dictate, to utilize your information to appear better than the next man, then you're not really utilizing your intellect and your wisdom and your information for empowerment, right? It's just you're only using it to empower yourself, to place yourself upon a pedestal, to look down on others. You see what I'm saying? And I get that kind of energy from Kevin Gates sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's like there was a clip that I had seen when he was, I don't know if he was on, I forgot whose stream he was on, but he said he was saying some deep ass shit too. Like whatever he was saying was true. But like I said, it was the way that he was conveying the information to whoever's podcast that it was on, and it was like domineering. It was like condescending in a way. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, energy speaks for itself sometimes, and if you are speaking wisdom and speaking truth, you still got to ask the person's intent behind them giving the gospel or trying to tell somebody a truth, right? It's just if you just doing it for ego purposes, right? A lot of people just doing shit for ego, trying to make them look like, oh yeah, I got all this information, the wealth of knowledge, I'm so smart, and I know this and I know that. And you doing it for the benefit to just look good, for people to praise you, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's a matter of just why people do things and the intention that matters than the actual act itself. And until people start realizing that, I feel like, a lot of people will be bamboozled by people who pretend to act, like they have good intentions when they really don't. You know what I'm saying? Or when we idolize certain people that don't really deserve to be on that pedestal because they're not utilizing that for the betterment or the good of the people. It's more just used to siphon energy and to, to be able to lift and empower or just build them up, and then to kind of belittle or demean another person with the knowledge and the information. You see what I'm saying? So it's just interesting because I see how many people just are dick riders. Like when I go look in the comments, like when I made that comment about him being like a master manipulator or whatever, yeah, I got so many negative comments back, like being like, oh, I can't even remember some of the comments that people were saying just because I made that comment, right? A lot of people were just like had something negative to say about me saying that. Okay, yeah, I mean, I said what he said was true. Like, I didn't deny the fact that what he was spitting was real game and real wisdom, but the point is, master manipulators are very narcissistic, if not full-blown narcissists. So you have to pay attention to the people that are smart, right? When you have to pay attention to the people that are giving game and giving wisdom, and you know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you're not paying attention to intuition, then we might have to question your intentions as well. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't just let things go over your head like that if you can't, like, because a lot of people are enablers to narcissism. A lot of people will sit there and recognize a person's intention and just key and be okay with the fact that that person's being manipulated. Like, for an example, actually, like this weekend I met someone, and in my heart, like I said, I can read energy, right? So like I was literally walking by. I walked by and this guy was sitting down with two other guys. They were all sitting down, and we caught all eye contact, and I felt this, you know, it was like there was like this chemistry. It was just in the energy and the way that he was looking at me. So I sat down with him and we started talking and everything, and I'm asking him like, okay, well, so what's y'all zodiac signs? And, you know, just little random general things that I can get to, you know, tap in and understand. But like this energy exchange that I was getting with this one particular guy that was sitting down at this table was, I felt like I felt like he was an energy vampire. Like I felt like it was like, okay, I don't want to make assumptions. I try not to make assumptions about anybody, and I give people the benefit of the doubt slightly, but still pay attention to how I'm feeling about people. And so he was giving me this look, and I was like, what is up with that look that you're giving me? And it was just very predatory. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of motherfuckers be predators, like people who are just looking to manipulate you into believing a lie, or trying to get you, or they're trying to create this perception so they can present to you a certain way that they're not even really, right? So this person, you know, he told me he was an Aries or whatever. So I said, okay, maybe that's what it is. You know, Aries, they got this fire energy. I was like, Aries are like Sour Patch Kids, right? They, you know, they sour, they sweet, and then they sour. So you never know what you're going to get with an Aries. You know what I'm saying? But like, very, yes, it was right. The predatory look, exactly. There was very predatory energy that I was getting off of him. And, but you know, like I said, I'm going to still sit there unless I feel that I'm in danger or something. I didn't mind whatever that energy was. But it was like the pure manipulation the whole time that I was sitting there with him. And it's like it immediately goes into like, you going to be my wife. You gonna be my this, like doing all this extra shit, which is unnecessary. First of all, that's a red flag. If anybody like on the first day want to talk about, oh, you gonna be my wife, that is like, you know, and not to say that it can't happen like that, because I got, you know, a couple people that I've known that met their husband and it was like that right off the bat. So you know, you don't know when that energy is genuine, right? But I felt it was very manipulative. I felt like it was very like, oh boy, bye. Like it felt like game. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm very much peeping everything that he's saying. But you know, when people start saying shit like that, I start, you know, making them, okay, well now you gotta match that energy, because now you acting like, oh, I'm your wife. Okay, well, I'm gonna make sure that your actions match the words. You see what I'm saying? And when the actions stop matching the words, then that's when I'm gonna just be able to peep game to know, like, okay, red flag, you know, you're very much a narcissist or something like that. Right, like, are my hooks in? Exactly, they do that to make sure that it's like, okay, let me see how fast I can spin her. And it's all an ego trip for that person, right? They're amused, they find amusement in being able to manipulate you. And this is what I'm saying, it's like, it's getting to this point where I'm starting to recognize that it's more likely than not that this is going to happen, especially if you're an attractive person and you're just out minding your business and people are attempting to talk to you. Because not only was this one thing, this was not the first person within the week, right, that I met that was like, kept saying like, oh, you gonna be my wife. Like, it's like, this is like I don't know if this is a new wave of men that just want, that's like they opening game, or they're opening, you know, whatever they want to say to try to, like you said, get the hooks in or whatnot. But it was just funny because it was a repetitive thing where, you know, a man wants to reference that, right? So, but anyway, like, my long story short, because I'm just rambling now, but it's the energy, right? I'm just going into the energy of what I felt in the moment that I met this person. And when I met them, I instantly felt, like I said, I felt this predatory energy that was coming off of him. And like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like an energy siphon. Like, it's almost like I felt this energetic, like you wanted to try to siphon my energy, right? You've been dealing with that? Yes, it's like you'll sense and feel that energy, because then not only did it become, it became combative at one point, right? Because I was like, at first it was very nice and it was cool and the energy was fun, right? But then it became very combative because like we were basically at a cigar bar, and you know, you know, they offered me if I wanted some tea and stuff like that, and they asked if I drunk alcohol, but I don't. So I was like, no, but I was like, but I don't have a cigar, you know, or something like that. And so that's when we kind of had this back and forth where he was like, so like basically trying to say he don't like his women or something to smoke. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not your woman. And second of all, yeah, the combative shift energetically. Yes, I felt it. It was like it became a back and forth energy because now you're telling me what you don't want your woman to be doing. And I'm like, boy, I am nowhere near your woman, first and foremost. Second of all, we're at a motherfucking cigar bar. So you can't sit here and tell me that you're here at a cigar bar and you're going to be, that's very contradictory, right, and hypocritical of you to try to make it seem like it's a problem that I smoke a cigar, but here you are hanging out at the cigar bar as well. Hey, Simone Santavari, thank you so much for joining the live, love. That's right, that right there. And he overstepped. Yes, exactly, definitely overstepped, because I'm like, why are you, it didn't even make sense, right? So this is when I'm starting to really notice, like, okay, you're an energy vampire, right? I'm seeing you're trying to siphon my energy. You want me to go back and forth with you. You're amused by this, right? And so I'm paying attention as we're having these discussions and these conversations, and I'm peeping what I'm feeling like, right? So it's like we gotta always tap into our own energy that we feel about people, because it was one of those things that I knew it from the jump before we even started talking what this motherfucker was. And so I really appreciate going out into the world and interacting with people, because it helps me test my own intuition. It helps me test what I already know as confirmation, because by the end of the night, it was a confirmation of what I already knew he was from the very beginning. So now, like, it's one of those things where it's like, after I've tested myself so much, I can't be upset with myself if I get caught up with a narcissist or energy vampire or a dark empath or whatever you want to call it, because it's like, if you can't keep going against your intuition when you feel something, right? So it was like, it's one of those things where it's like me upping my awareness. So I know, like, the next time I go somewhere and I feel this energy, I know that I wasn't tripping. I knew exactly what it was, you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. He was trying to get me to go out with him the very next day. And I was like, no, I said, you lucky I actually sat here and entertained you for this long. As I said, because you're very dramatic. You want to have conflict. You want to be combative. All of these things. Yes, I am Ashley Day says intuition is the first step. Then comes the discernment, the action we take after the knowing. Exactly, right? You have to take action with what you feel, or else it'll be one of those things where you can become victimized to the situation because you didn't peep game, you didn't follow the intuition that was guiding you and trying to show you that no, something's not right with that energy, right? And like I said, when I talk about narcissism, that's very much a spirit attached to people. So it's like what I felt was the spirit on him. I felt the spirit of narcissism on him. And because it's become so normalized to me, because it's been rampant within my family. It's been rampant within my relationships, friendships, rampant within my relationships, companionships, whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like something in my spirit allows me to recognize it instantly, right? But it's almost like if you don't recognize it, it could be like a magnet, almost because it feels so familiar to you. Sometimes things that bring familiarity make you feel a level of comfort. So you'll recognize something and you'll feel it, and the comfort of it, because you're so aware of it, sometimes can make you think, oh my gosh, this is a connection, right? Because in the beginning, it was kind of like, oh, I felt some chemistry here. But it wasn't chemistry. It was me recognizing that spirit on him that I had already dealt with before, right? I already understand what this energy is. But sometimes it takes just a little bit of interacting to find evidence to confirm what you already know sometimes. And that's the process that I went through with him, right? So it's just an example to say, because this man, talking about he writes books, he's a scholar, all of these things. So it goes back to the Kevin Gates archetype that I was talking about, because he, I found that attractive, right? Because you know, I talk a great deal about great, you know what I'm saying, profound wisdom and knowledge. So anybody who's a quote unquote scholar or talks about things that I'm interested in, that's another thing for me to be like, okay, we got something in common, we can vibe or whatever, right? So this is what I'm saying. This man was trying to use his intellect and his wealth at that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, he's trying to, you know, spend money and all of that, which is cool, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate a man that's generous and that is, you know, kind and, you know, is going to be, you know, take care of a woman that is, you know, that as you should do that, I feel like, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you can't be moved by none of that shit. You have to still allow your intuition to let you know what the fuck something is, right? Yeah, straight up. You see what I'm saying? It's like things will, if you continue to ignore your intuition when people are showing you who they are, that is when you find yourself in situations and, you know, because these people are very diabolical in their energy, right? These people will put you in harm's way, you know what I'm saying? You know, these would be the type of people that you'll be dealing with, and they got another toxic ass bitch somewhere hiding behind the bushes, jumping out, trying to have beef with you, and you don't even know this nigga like that. You know what I'm saying? You just getting to know him. He trying to pretend like he don't deal with nobody and things like that. And it's just like now you got to go. Now you fighting a bitch over somebody that you don't even fuck with like that. You see what I'm saying? So is this what I mean? Is just by being in a situation where your discernment is on 10, so that way you're not dealing with people who are not necessarily, they don't have good intention and they're trying to use their intellect to try to manipulate you. You see what I'm saying? Because people be master manipulators. Hey Damon Carl, hey Jen Voice, thank y'all so much for joining the live. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what he was doing. It was like one of those things where he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a scholar. All right, I wrote this book and right? But here you are trying to manipulate me. Hey, Laysana Davis, thank you so much for joining the live. But here you are trying to manipulate me, talking about, oh, you gonna be my wife, doing all this extra shit. It's like, why are you doing all that? The money is enough for most people. Exactly. And if you shallow and you superficial, you definitely gonna be dealing with, you know, narcissistic situations, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so many out here. When I tell y'all, so that was one situation, but then just right after that, like, well, no, the next day, I was hanging out, like walking in this little public, this area is called Ybor. It's kind of like Broad Ripple if you're from Indianapolis, or like, it's kind of like, you know, just that open area where there's a bunch of bars and restaurants and shit like that. And so I'm hanging out, walking around out there, and this other guy does the same thing. I need to come see you at Rhythm. Yeah, so I'm actually not in Indianapolis. I'm not in Indianapolis anymore. I'm actually in Tampa. But yes, they are just still doing rhythm and poetry, but they're at the MXP shop now. So I feel like, you know, you definitely need to do something, because I mean, you are mad talented, and I'm sure they would love to hear you play and do your thing, okay? I am Ashley. Dave says they have several karmics and they view them as low lives. Yeah, exactly. It's their energy supply. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an energy vampire, somebody that's energy vampire, are you siphoning people's energy? You gotta have multiple supplies. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing, you're a manipulator, so you got multiple masks. And so you playing this role in front of this person, you playing this part in front of this person, you know what I'm saying? So you just got to be careful who you're dealing with out here, because like I said, it's more prevalent than you even think. Because every guy that has approached me that I met within a period of a week, y'all, I'm telling you, all came really with the same type of energy. Oh, damn, you gonna be my wife, and this is and that and all of this. And, you know, I met this guy. He was actually really attractive. And, you know, that's what you be thinking, like, well, what benefit would it be for him to manipulate me? He looked like he got it all. He got bread. He got this. He got that. But it's like, I'm about your spirit. I'm about your intention. I don't care what you have, because I know that these people be, like I said, they're diabolical, right? And they be having so much drama and so much strings attached. And, you know, because I'm thinking about this guy that I used to talk to back home. And he had like fucking, 8 kids, and all his baby mamas had drama with each other. And like, we would be out hanging out, and like one of his baby mamas would just pop out of the woodworks and be trying to fight him, and like it was just so much drama. And it's like back then, you know what I'm saying, I knew that, you know, he was just my friend. He wasn't nobody that I was really dating like that. But it was just like, even just being friends with people like that, because a lot of times people will look at you and be like, thinking that so because of you just have any type of friendship with a man and you're a woman, you know, they're gonna assume that you messing with that man, even if you really not. You know what I'm saying? So just hug a tree, right? Exactly. You know, get some grounding and things like that. Exactly. I can resonate with that. But the reality is like, I'm just saying, it's so prevalent, more prevalent than I even thought before. Because now, like I said, every person that has approached me, it's been the same energy. And you talking all this big talk in the beginning, like you don't have to approach me and say you're gonna marry me or I'm gonna be your wife. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be all extra, right? Just so like when we exchange information, you're not coming with that same energy. You're not calling me, telling me, oh, let me take you out and this is that, which is cool because I know I'm divinely protected. So I take that as a sign when somebody gives me a certain kind of energy from day one, but then it's like the next day or a few days after that, or I don't hear nothing from you, or you don't have the same energy. It lets me know that, thank you, God. I'm always thanking God for his protection. And that, you know, rejection is redirection. Rejection is, you know, God's protection. So I always look at it like that, because I know God, what God has for me is real. So I don't want nothing that's artificial, nothing that's fake. I am Ashley Dave says, master manipulators, you see the signs. They think they are invisible and unseen because they get away with it most of the time. Exactly. Hey, Soft Life 3000. Big fact. They get away with it all the time because most of this world are superficial. They just chasing a dollar. They chasing a moment, or, you know, they're chasing lust, right? A lot of everybody got these different spirits on them that got them chasing after something that's not real. So like they can't even see the spirit of envy, the spirit of lust, the spirit, like if you are a spiritual person, you can see the intentions of people. But if you're not looking for the intentions of people, then you're just going to see things at surface level. You're just going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, they got money. Yeah, he fine. She bad. You know what I'm saying? But the whole time they got some type of incubus, succubus energy on them. They're energy vampires. They're looking to use and abuse you, manipulate you, right? Spin you with no intention, no good intention whatsoever. I am Ashley Dave says, keep up with your act or don't. And thanks for the information. Big facts. Exactly. Keep up with, be consistent with what you and who you say you are. And that's what I'm starting to realize, is that a lot of people are not true to themselves. And that's why they go out into the world with the different masks on. And then when you meet people on the day one, right? Like, it's another fad that I'm seeing too, like on TikTok, where there's a lot of these videos where we're like, just lie on your first date. Lie to them, right? And it's like, I understand that perspective to a certain extent, but then it's like you become the manipulator when you do that. And it's like, I have no intention to become the manipulator, right? I intend to walk in my truth. And I want my truth to repel the people that are not for me. Like, I want my truth to repel you, because the people that is for me will be attracted to my truth, right? So it's like, instead of me walking around telling lies to try to get people to continue to reel people in to see me in a way, or see me in a light that, you know, is going to make me accepted, or, you know, whatever. I just feel like, why? Like, I could care less. If you don't fuck with me and you don't fuck with my truth, good. Get from around me. You see what I'm saying? That's what I really appreciate. You know what I'm saying? When you real and you genuine, you authentic. Exactly. Only real ones think the right way. Exactly. So the righteous people, that's who you want around you. You know what I'm saying? You want to repel those people who are superficial, right? Say, when you are authentic person, when you don't care about the judgments of others and stuff like that, a lot of times people not gonna like you for that. Right? Hey, Optimistic, thank you so much for joining the live. Yeah, when you're true to yourself, a lot of people not gonna fuck with you or like you because of that. And those are the people that are superficial. Those are the people that do think about, they care about what other people think of them. So they're gonna judge you based on you being so authentic, not caring about the perceptions of others, right? And that's going to protect you in a sense, right? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't want to be around inauthenticity. I don't want to be around people who are willing to be manipulators, deception, fake. You know what I mean? It's people that I can't trust my business around. You know what I'm saying? Or I can't be vulnerable around you. If I can't be true to myself, if I can't, let my inner child be rampant around you, then I don't need you around, right? I am Ashley Dave says they care what other people think. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, people will really be so concerned about what other people think. And that lets you know that they're not true to who they really are, because they've created a facade based on what acceptance that they can receive from other people. Right. And it's like, nobody, for me, I don't give a fuck about being accepted. Jen Voice says, you were talking about Ybor City earlier and never finished what you were saying. Well, I did, because I was just talking about how I was walking in Ybor and how people, right, the people that I met in Ybor were basically gaslighting me from the jump, or the people will love bomb you, right? So I was talking about how I met people, right? Because the initial conversation is about the Kevin Gates archetype. People who have this intellect or their wisdom, or they may utilize what they have or what they know to manipulate you, to make them for you to place them on a pedestal, right? And the guy that I was talking about that I met in Ybor, that's kind of what he was doing, waving his wealth around. He was talking about he's a scholar. He was talking about, I wrote a book. He showed me like some of his inserts in his book and stuff like that, right? And we resonated on that because I was telling him, I'm a writer, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was telling him about a lot of the things that I talk about on my social media and all of these different things that I promote when it comes to healing and, overcoming narcissistic abuse and stuff like that, right? So I was communicating that and just expressing as an example, right, that this person, but when I first interacted with him, I felt this energy siphoning from him, or there was something that I felt that I couldn't quite put my money on it, right? But I felt this energy that made me feel like, okay, there's something about this man. I feel something, right? And in the beginning, I confused it with chemistry, but what it was just me having a familiarity with narcissism, and I had a familiarity with that energy or that spirit that was on him because of his narcissism. I felt that on him, but because I've been in so many narcissistic relationships, right? Sometimes that love bombing, right, in the beginning, or when, people, it's like this chemistry or whatever, I felt that. And so it made me be like, hold on. Something drew me to him. But hey, Dystopian Warlord. Hey, Pimp G79. Thank you so much for joining the live. I am Ashley Dave says the love bombing be the worst. They oversaturate with everything. Right. That was oversaturating. But even before that, I felt this. It was an energetic siphoning. I don't know. It was like, because I had even walked past them before I had actually stopped and talked to them. And like something in my spirit was like, okay, there's something attracting about him. And so when we walked past each other again, well, he was sitting down, but when I walked past the spot again, then that's when I felt the energetic tie. He like gave this look in his eyes. Y'all, I just can't even explain it. Hey, I am Classic. Thank you so much for joining the live, love. So yeah, it was like this eye contact and this energy exchange that I'm feeling, but I knew, like I said, then it became a toxic back and forth because he became combative. But you know how people, like, let me not say like combative like it was a real fight. You know how like a child, like when they talk about like little boys and girls that gotta crush each other on the playground, and you got the little boy that hits you but he really like you type of deal, right? It was that kind of energy where it's like you're trying to play Mr. Tough Guy and you're trying to basically just trying to test me. And because here's the thing, this is what master manipulators do. They will You know how people just say, I just wanted to see how you was going to respond. I just wanted to see what you was going to say. I was just trying to see, instead of like being intentional and really meaning what they say, they'll just say something to see how you're going to respond to it. That is a major red flag, y'all. This is master manipulation. This is how people do to test you and see. They want to know how you're going to respond to their trauma or their drama, respond to their toxicity, right? And so this is way too common. It's like it's so accepted now that people almost expect to do things and say things initially when you meet people, but not being intentional, just to be like, because like I said, it's a whole TikTok trend of people being like, when you meet this person, just lie. When you meet a person on the first date, just lie, right? Yeah, that's definitely a narcissistic Aries. Yeah, big fact. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Santi, Santi Thananthan. I don't know. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'll be trying, y'all. But yeah, like the reality is, it's way too, we've accepted this thing to where like because of the manipulation, right? Because of the narcissism, because of the love bombing and the gaslighting, we get jaded with dating. We get jaded with experiencing the same bullshit. Like I said, within 1 week of being in Ybor, I got the same type of interaction. That wasn't the only interaction that I got. I just used him as an example because he's the one that I actually felt like from the very beginning that there was some type of energy siphoning going on. I even said, like, I said, you're an energy vampire. Like, I called him out about it and said, hey, Miss Sathia. So yeah, I even called him out about it because I was like, you are an energy vampire, because I could just tell that he was getting a rise out of this like back and forth, you know what I'm saying, that we were kind of doing. And so like, it was just interesting because like I said, he was really trying to convince me to like let him take me out the very next day. And I was like, I said, honestly, I don't even know if I want to go out on another date with you yet. I said, because my thing is, this is very childish. I said, the reality is, like, I understand when there's chemistry between people, but like I said, I don't like people to get into the habit of getting too comfortable to play with me like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to like when situations start out and the dynamic is combative and toxic, that's going to show you that the outcome of that dynamic 9 times out of 10, that situation is not going to be a healthy dynamic, right? It's like, I'm grown. I'm 38 years old. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't want to deal with little high school relationships where you get with somebody and you're going back and forth with them and you're playing. Like, bitch, we grown. This nigga was like in his 50s, y'all. He was way older than me. Even though he looked youthful, he didn't look like he was old or nothing, but he was way older than me. And so I'm just like, bruh. So I already knew, and I was like, first of all, you're that old, you ain't never been married, like, what's your situation, what you got going on, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of people just out here playing the field, playing games, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, because they find entertainment from that. And I don't. Like, I'm not out here to try to I don't want to be your entertainment. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I can peep that from the day one, if that's what type of time that you're on. And so that's what it was with him. So that's all I was trying to say about my situation in Ybor, because I had met multiple dynamics that just reaffirmed what I already knew. And that, like I said, the major red flag for me was that all of these niggas was like, oh, that's my wife. Like, I was walking across the street and this guy was like, trying to get my attention as I had already walked across the street. So I turned around, and very handsome, very well dressed, looking nice guy. He came back across he was with a friend or his uncle or something like that. And he was like, oh, hold on, this is my wife right here. And hurried up and came across the street and just started asking me questions. And we started talking or whatever. We ended up going to this little bar or whatever that was nearby. And like, we was talking and everything. And he was just talking about how, his last situation, he felt like it didn't work out because he felt like he wasn't as, I guess affectionate or whatever. He was just saying all this stuff, and he was very hard to read, right? He said he had been retired from the military. He had, he showed me children, his kids and everything, beautiful children, But it was just like, you did all of that to tell me all this information about your personal business, right? And you played this role like, oh, you're gonna be my wife, right? And like I said, my thing is, I'm looking for a husband. So it's not that I'm not going to deny you from saying that, but I'm also going to peep your actions to show me, do you really feel that way? You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of married men that I know say that when they met their wife, they knew it was the wife from the very beginning, right? So I'm not going to discredit a man for saying that if he sees me. Hey, Mrs. Augusta 72017, thank you so much for joining the live, right? So I'm not going to discredit that man for saying it, but I'm going to say, match that energy, baby. Match that energy. So it's like throughout the time that we hung out at the little spot or whatever, we had a lot of things in common, right? There was even people that was coming up to us like, oh my gosh, like basically saying that, you know, we look good together. And it was odd. It was weird. But there was still a level of disconnect that was there that I was still trying to just read into, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I'm all about energy. I don't really pay attention to words that much. It's how it feels. You see what I'm saying? And so there was still something about the energy. So towards the end, like when I was about to leave, I gave him a hug, and it was like the energy shifted. It went from like him being very poised and like gentleman-like to being very like, he was being extra in how he was hugging me and like being all gropey and shit. And I was just like, okay, you a little extra. This, you know, the energy shifted, you know, a little bit. And yeah, and I was just like, okay, well, you know, we exchange information. So I said, you know, I typically like to allow men to take the lead, you know what I'm saying? So when you want to, you know, if you want to see me again, I'll let you hit me up and, you know, plan something for us. And, you know, we'll do that and everything. And, you know, like I said, it's been however long and I haven't heard nothing from this man, which is cool because like I said, I like for people to eliminate themselves, but I feel like a lot of like people be wanting to be chased, right? So this is what a man will do. And I'm not just going to say just a man. Let's say just narcissism, right? People who are trying to manipulate you. They paint a picture in your mind. They want to create a fantasy in your head. So you can, in your mind, you can sit here and be thinking about this person, thinking about the fantasy that you created based on the first moments of meeting each other and based on all the words that they use, right? Words are a spell. And as soon as we learn that words are a spell, we won't allow people to paint pictures in our mind. So because then I'm sure what he was looking for me to do was be calling him after, hey, Yak Club Mixavelli, thank you so much for joining the live, love. So it was like, that's what he was waiting for me to do. He painted a picture in my head. He created a fantasy in my head saying, oh, that I was going to be his wife, all of these different things. You know, he showed me a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, these men were very gentlemanly as far as like taking care of the bill and, you know, making sure I was good, make sure I ate, like all of these different things, right? But it was all just like, to reel in, right? They just want to, like you said, put, you know, they want to put the hook in it, right? So then that way you sitting around thinking about them, right? And marinating on, oh my gosh, it was so good to me. We had such a good time. We had so much in common. Oh my gosh, right? And then next thing you know, you calling this man, you calling this woman, you reaching out to them when it's like, you need to match the energy because you set the tone, right? I didn't never say, ooh, you was going to be my husband when I met you, nigga. You said that I was going to be your wife, right? So it's like, what are you going to do to ensure that you giving that type of energy, right? Because you could have simply said, oh, mama, you're attractive. I could, you know, you seem like somebody I'd love to get to know a little bit deeper, right? There ain't no pressure with that, right? I'm not expecting for you to call me day 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? I'm just expecting that, okay, this is somebody that we're networking, that we can get to know each other, right? But you set the tone and you set the energy with trying to make it seem like, oh, somebody was about to be your wife. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, they waiting for you to call. Exactly. That exact part. Exactly. And baby, I will not be calling, honey. Please believe. You will not be getting me calling your motherfucking ass. I won't be doing it because like I said, you got to match the energy. You got to meet the expectations that you set, that you created with running your motherfucking mouth when you didn't even have to do all that. You see what I'm saying? That's what, you know, it's a meme that says about Aquarius. It's like, that's one thing. We don't like when motherfuckers, what they say, over promise and under deliver. Because, bitch, you could have shut the fuck up, right? That's what I'm saying. Nobody asked you to say all that and to do all that. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. When you make a motherfucker put the money where their motherfucking mouth is. You see what I'm saying? So that's the type of time that I'm on at this point, right? But like I said, when you let people master manipulate, right? Or when you place people on a pedestal based on what? That wasn't even a full 24 motherfucking hours. Like, we chatted for, a few hours out at Ebor. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, based on that little window of time, if you think that I'm about to allow you to manipulate my mind and think that something is something that is not, baby, you got the wrong one. But that's the thing. It's a lot of people out here that it works on, because the same people that it works on be the same people that probably are doing that to other people. You know what I'm saying? Or you're just very naive and you haven't learned the game yet, right? You're still in that age where you just starting to see the reality of the world. You know what I'm saying? You don't recognize that it's a bunch of narcissists and master manipulators walking this earth yet. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably, the young girls that just graduating college, you know what I'm saying, and just now getting out into the world. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you could have shut the fuck up. Right. Hey, Public Announcement TV, thank you so much for joining the live. I'm Ashley Day says enablers. It be the women making them feel important. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of, what they call them, what they calling the girls these days, the pick-me's, you know what I'm saying? Or, things like that. It's always somebody out here trying to validate, right? And that's what I'm talking about. It's the enablers of narcissism, really. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop exactly, enablers. It be the women. Yes, we enable narcissism. We enable, because it's just like, we enable charm and character. Like, not even character, really, because character is, I guess, would be different, right? But when you're being charming, it's not always coming from a genuine place. It's really more to just, you're manipulating, right? Being charming is like being sneaky, trying to pretend to be this, just say all the right things, right? To appear to be what you're trying to appear to other people. Hey, lovely Tina 33, thank you so much for joining the live. I am Ashley Day says there are more women than men in the world, and they still enabling narcissistic men, giving them the power that fuels the ish. Exactly, right? And it's just sad because, and like I said, I always like to clear this up because I know it's narcissistic women and men, right? But it's probably a lot of women on my live, because of course I talk about a lot of narcissistic men because I only date men, so I only know my experience from a woman's perspective. But I do like to, make it a point to not push narcissism on men, because there is also narcissistic women, and I like to make it more of a spiritual thing, because narcissism is more of like a spirit that is attached to people, right? And it's just like you having that Jezebel, that incubus, that succubus energy, on you, and both men and women can possess that, right? And you think about, that Jezebel spirit, and you think about, a lot of people who are in the occupation of finessing men, and things like that. But because, in reality, that is a man-made occupation, right? Men created pimps. Men created, manipulating women in order to get them to be subservient to them and things like that. So it's like just being realistic of where that shit came from, right? But at the end of the day, there are good men out here, right, that aren't narcissists, that have the same empathic ability, right, that a lot of us women have, that go unnoticed, right? Because that's why I think we have this narrative too, where a lot of good men have this negative connotation about women, because they have had to be faced with narcissistic women as well. So I just feel that as women and as men, we both have this experience, and we have to learn how to we have to learn how to stop putting it on women and putting it on men, and just recognize that narcissism is a whole nother category in itself, right? Lovely Tina 33 says, I'm raised by a narcissist father, always like to control. Yes, me too. I can definitely resonate with that, Lovely Tina 33. I'm Ashley Day says, and men have the power. Yeah, women narcissists exist heavy out here. Exactly. Pimp G79 says, well, us as men got to learn how to stand on our words. We say them without being narcissistic, but some women can be narcissistic. Period. Lovely Tina 33 says, I feel bad for the men who are raised by a narcissist mother too. Yes, yep, it's both. Yes, y'all, and that's what I'm saying, Pimp G79. That's the point that I'm making, is that there's narcissistic women and narcissistic men, and that there are also good men out here, and I don't like to be the one to project narcissism on every man, right? That's not my point. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm really just trying to bring the awareness of narcissism as a whole, so we all understand that people are out here manipulating, and so we can stop going against each other as women and men, right? And once we start to recognize that a lot of us who have dealt with women who are fucked up, right, if you're a man, or men that have fucked up if you are a woman, or if you deal with both sexes or whatever, manipulation is manipulation. Deception is deception. Narcissism is narcissism, right? And it's just sad that we've gotten so confused and so manipulated by narcissism that we can't see that it's not men and women, right? It's like once we start to take away that narrative, we'll start to come together more with men and women, and we'll be able to have these talks and dynamics amongst each other without pointing the finger like all men do this, all women is like this and like that, because it's really all narcissists are like this, and that's where we're getting lost. That's why we're always kind of like combating with each other, because we've dealt with some narcissistic woman or some narcissistic man that have ruined the idea of partnership, relationships. Now we're jaded, not because we dealt with the man or because we dealt with the woman, but because we dealt with a narcissistic man or a narcissistic woman. And that's why we have these negative connotations. So once we stop to think and take away these stereotypes that we've created, and it's like misplaced anger, right? We have misplaced anger towards each other because of this narcissism. And once we start to recognize that, we'll start to like appreciate the good men and the good women, and we'll stop like putting all of this negativity on one gender or the other. You see what I'm saying? Hey, LWH30, thank you so much for joining the live. But yeah, Lovely Tina 33 says, I don't understand why they don't think they are never wrong. Yeah, so we're talking about narcissists. Yeah, it's not that narcissists don't think that they're never wrong. Narcissists is like, it's all about deception and manipulation. So sometimes they're so delusional in their lies that they start to believe their own lies, or that they care so much about the narrative, right? They care so much about their reputation that they will negate the truth, right? Just to spin their narrative, just to make sure that they're coming across, right? Because narcissism is all about reputation. It's all about how the outside world perceives them, because they're protecting a certain persona that they've created, a certain mask that they've created, that they've had over periods of time, that they never, like, they had to create a mask, right? Because they were so self-conscious about themselves, because they didn't get the love, right? They may have been abused or whatnot, or they cared so much about what the views of, people, or because, because there's not only, like, narcissism doesn't only stem from being abused, because you can also become a narcissist by a parent, like, overly validating you and basically like, oh, you can do no wrong. Then it's like an ego thing, an ego trip, where you get caught up in trying to portray that you're this perfect person when you're not. You're not being true and real to yourself. You allowed your parents or somebody to validate you so much, right? Definitely, yeah. A lot of times it's childhood trauma, but there are some narcissists that come from you got everything that you wanted and needed in your life, and that, you know, you could do no wrong in the eyes of anybody, right? And you were overly validated when and it was almost like a deception, like, you know, like, oh, so here's an example. I don't know if you guys seen the latest Lion King movie, but you seen how Scar, when he was younger, his dad was validating him so much, right? To be that he was going to be the king, right? Scar's dad validated him so much that he was going to be the king, but like Scar didn't have the true ability to lead, to be a leader, to be a king, because his dad didn't really show him how to be a real leader, right? All his dad used to do was just be lazy, lay up under the tree, and allow all the women to do all the dirty work, right? So that's the mentality of like somebody that becomes narcissistic, because it's like you allow somebody to validate you, saying like, oh, you're going to be the king, right? But then you don't even instill the right morals and values in them to make them be a good leader, right? You see what I'm saying? Exactly. You can do no wrong. It's the one or the two for sure. Exactly. It's usually one or the other. Yeah, one or the other. It's like either you was extremely abused or you was just overly validated, but they didn't pour into you what you needed to prepare you for life for real, you know. So you out here just thinking you that nigga, you that bitch, you know what I'm saying? But and the reality is you're not prepared for the world, you're prepared for the life, and now you have to get people to validate. You go out into the world trying to get people to validate the deception that your parents basically put over you. You see what I'm saying? And now you got to go into the world and try to enforce this way of being that is not even really accurate. You know, it's based on, you know, not based in truth, right? Not based in reality. Hey, 9813 OTSS. Thank you so much for joining the live, love. So yeah, y'all, that's what that is about. So it's like once we get into this mindset that it ain't women, it ain't men, it's just narcissists as a whole. So we can stop projecting the negative experience that we've had with women or men onto each other and recognize that we just dealt with narcissistic men. We just dealt with narcissistic women. And so I'm projecting this way that this narcissistic man or narcissistic woman was, and trying to say it's how all women are, how all men are. And that's the problem. We have to remove that stereotype that we've created in our mind, right? Yeah, and don't be authentic, because then you're the problem. Yeah, exactly. When you're in any type of narcissistic dynamic, they're going to despise you for being your true self, because they don't feel that they can be their true selves. You know what I'm saying? They don't feel like they're able to be in a space where because because it's like they don't feel that they can be true and authentic to themselves. So how dare you show up as your true self? And here's the thing, because their whole life they've created this mask, right? And there's been enough validation in other relationships that they've been in, other dynamics that a lot of people are out here faking too with masks on, that it's hard for them to believe that anybody is out here being authentic, that anybody is out here being their true self, right? Because there's enough evidence in the world to show that this world is just superficial. This world is fake. Nobody's trying to be the true self. Everybody's just trying to fit in, right? Everybody has a persona. So people who are fake, they don't believe in the truth. They don't believe in the real, right? Because that's why they're fake. Because they didn't know it existed in the first place. Because, you know, the narcissist in their family was fake, right? The people that they grew up around was fake. So everything around them just validates that, right? But it's something about an empath, or it's something about a chosen one, or a starseed, or something about somebody that kept the light within them, that knew the truth of God, right? That allowed them to know that if God made me authentic, made me true to myself, and he's always, you know what I'm saying, guiding me through situations, and the love within my heart never faded away, right? Then it's like something in us that lets us know that even though it may be a rare find, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? It's still out there, but we have to understand that we are a rare breed. So yeah, it's going to be like a needle in a haystack, but we don't give up on hope, because God, it's like when you know that God is always going to guide you where you need to go. Like God is going to guide you right through dealing with this narcissism too, because sometimes you have to go through the situations with narcissists for you to see the truth in you, right? Because that's all we are in life. We're going to be mirrors to each other, right? We're going to be mirrors, right? And this is all about smoke and mirrors. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, when we're being faced with deception, like we're also being faced with how we're going to respond to the deception. We're also being faced with, okay, if that wasn't real, then what is real, right? It's going to make us we're going to always go deeper to try to see it through, to understand what was that deception about, right? It helps us learn more about ourselves. Hey, Visualmania, thank you so much for joining the live, right? So we have to be faced with this deception sometimes when we're going through our growth and our development. And it's also not just for us, it be for them too, for them to recognize, like, damn, because eventually they will see, like, damn, that person was real. No matter how hard I tried to create deception around this person, like, I could not create smoke and mirrors around this person. Like, everything that this person is, that's who they are, right? But the thing about narcissists, they will try everything in their power to create smoke and mirrors around you, because here's the thing, they don't want other people to be able to see you as who you truly are, because let them tell it, you're the one that's the manipulator, you're the one that's the liar, you're the one that is the fucked up person, right? So that's how they have to spin the narrative, right? Because now when you see the truth in who they are, that's why they go through the whole smear campaign. That's why they go through the whole process of trying to manipulate you into believing you're not who the fuck you say that you are. Okay? Hey, Queen Faith Lulu, thank you so much for joining the live. That's why they go out of their way to manipulate others around them to view you in the way that they view you, right? To validate because they be so caught up in the narrative that they're spinning to create this persona to others, that they're going to do their best to ensure that they are manipulating the minds of other people to see you in the way that they see you, right? And that's just how narcissism works, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, if they really took that time to just do the healing, to really go within, to figure out who they really are, like all of the energy they put into deception, do you know how healed they could be? Do you know how further in life they could be? But no, because of the world reflects, right? When we think about celebrity worship, like I was talking about with Kevin Gates and things like that, we're in this place where we understand, especially in the celebrity world and in the rap culture and stuff like that, they're all about personas, right? I remember when Love and Hip Hop first came out, and Fabulous, and Emily, and how Fabulous was so caught up in his persona that he didn't want to put out into the world that he had his baby mama, and what type of real dynamic they really had behind the scene. Is like a lot of these rappers be married, and I feel like we've kind of moved on with the times where people are starting to be more open with their children and their family dynamic. But there was a time before where it was shunned upon to really promote the family dynamic and stuff like that. And so once again, we talk about personas. We talk about what's going to be accepted, to being accepted by the world, how they negate their truth to be accepted in the world, right? This is something that we have adopted in Western civilization or whatever. Like, we've adopted that, certain things we have to emit or omit to be accepted into the world. So it's like, that's what a lot of narcissists do. I am Ashley Day says they only got a shot when they think you're at a disadvantage. Exactly. So that's the thing, right? They're going to try to utilize your so-called, flaws or your shortcomings or whatever. And they're going to try to magnify that to try to paint you to be this negative person and things like that, right? So yeah, it's sad that that's the type of time that people be on, but it's just my thing is just awareness. That's the only reason why I talk about this, because I feel like it's way too common. Like I said, within a week, I had like 4 motherfuckers, trying to manipulate me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bullshit philosopher, thank you so much for joining the live, love. You see what I'm saying? So you have to get into this place where it's like, okay, why is it necessary to do all that? You don't have to love bomb and gaslight somebody to get them to feel interested or intrigued. You know what I'm saying? Just be in a space where you're being upfront and being honest and being true to yourself. But a lot of times people want to pretend, they want to create a facade. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that's kind of corny, that's kind of lame, but that's what I'm saying. It's accepted, right? We enable narcissism. We enable people to get on here and to create a facade. And, a lot of times we'll just allow it and we'll just co-sign to the bullshit. And instead, like, I'm literally here trying to bring awareness to the fact that it's way more common than you think. So when you're out in the world and you got people trying to approach you, trying to get your number, like I said, like, I kind of feel like I have a certain energy where I kind of repel the bullshit. But then this past week made me feel differently, because I was like, damn, I literally, everywhere I've gone, I've had somebody talk about, oh, this is my wife right here. You know what I'm saying? And just be on some extra shit. And I'm just like, bruh, that is so unnecessary. You do not have to gas me like that. You know what I'm saying? It's fair to say, like, man, you're somebody I feel like I want to get to know, like, or whatever. But to go that extra mile to act like, oh, a motherfucker is going to be your wife and do all this extra shit, it's like, it's not necessary. But then to recognize that that's everybody's pickup line. You see what I'm saying? But it's also, I also think about your environment, right? So that's another thing that I'm paying attention to, right? My environment has been another thing that I've been trying to consider, because I was in a common place where, like I said, it's a lot of bars, it's a lot of restaurants, it's a place to go for festivities, you know what I'm saying? So it's more likely that a lot of these type of people are going to be in these type of areas, you know what I'm saying? So you have to also consider that it's not always about, oh, every time you go somewhere, that's what you're going to expect or what you're going to see. But think about your environment. And that's why it's like, even like recently, I went out to a club, and like I said, I haven't been clubbing, right? I don't drink, I don't smoke, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, Bryce Grimes, welcome to the live, love. So it's like, I don't drink, I don't smoke. But like I said, I might smoke a cigar every now and then, because you're not really inhaling that, you know what I'm saying? And I enjoy the environment of the cigar bars. But like, being in the club, it was more like a challenge for me, because I was like, all right, well, it was more like a challenge for me, because like I'm solo dolo a lot. You see what I'm saying? Like, and so, I still enjoy like the loud music and the energy and the vibes, you know what I'm saying? But I also am realistic about the type of people that are hanging out at these places. But I also am not so superficial or so stereotypical, rather, that I don't, because it's like, if I know who I am as a person, and here I am hanging out in the club. So who's to say that I might not meet somebody who's just having a celebratory time, enjoying themselves, right? That may also resonate on the type of level that I resonate on. So I don't close myself off so much that I'm just like judgmental of everybody that's in the club. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, I went out to have a good time, sat in the club, and it was like a challenge for myself, because like I said, sometimes you will feel self-conscious a little bit if you're somewhere like that by yourself, because a lot of times people not just going places by themselves like that, right? So, but me, I'm always challenging myself. I don't mind. Like, I go places a lot by myself, and I enjoy myself because I enjoy my own company. You see what I'm saying? So like, I went out and vibed out, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, I was just having a good time, and I was just sitting in the corner, you know what I'm saying? Like vibing, dancing or whatever, just by myself, you know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm a very magnetic energy. So of course people came to me and started to vibe with me. And I didn't end up being there the whole time by myself. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm very conscious of the energy that I'm attracting or whatever. And just like, okay, yes, I'm having a good time in this moment, but at the same time, I'm still observant of my surroundings and the type of people that are vibing with me. And, you know, most likely if it's in a club setting, you know what I'm saying, we'll just have to see if they're on like the conscious spiritual level that I'm on, you know what I'm saying, beyond just the surface, having fun, you know, smoking cigars and everything like that, and you know, bottles and all of that type of energy, you know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things where I've been paying attention to that more. Like I said, my environment, I can't be that disappointed that if I meet a bunch of narcissistic people, well, duh, you was in the fucking club, you know what I'm saying? Or duh, you was in a festive area where those type of areas are going to attract, right? There's this one spot that I've been going to that's like a cigar bar. And in my mind, I thought, okay, cigar bar, I'll probably meet some mature people in the cigar bar, right? But what I'm noticing now is from hanging out at the cigar bars, there's really nothing but shit, married men in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole bunch of married men that want to mingle. Because I'm telling you, like, it's a bunch of married men have approached me just from going to this specific cigar bar. And you know, like the first day that I met somebody at the cigar bar, like I didn't assume that he was married or anything, but he was like, "Oh, why are you sitting?" He's, you know, of course, asking me, "Why are you sitting over here by yourself? You want to join me, or what do you want? What are you drinking?" Right? And of course, I'm like, "Oh, I don't drink or whatever, but you know, I'll take a cigar, you know, whatever and everything." And the person that was sitting with me, we vibed, and I enjoyed his energy. Right? I felt that he was attractive and everything. And then come to find out, he's like, at some point, you know, it came out. No, like he was talking and he was just like, yeah, something, my wife. And I just looked at him like, your wife, right? And that's what I'm saying. That's a form of narcissism too, right? That's funny, huh? Bullshit philosopher. Yeah, that's how these niggas be, right? Literally, that's a form of narcissism too. I'm not gonna say it's a form of narcissism. I'm gonna say that, but to me, yes, because if you're married, you are a master manipulator. If you're married, even if you ain't manipulating me, you manipulating your wife. You see what I'm saying? You're not being honest. You're not being truthful, right? And the way that the conversation went was him telling me he brings up his wife, and after we've been sitting here for like 2-3 hours, and I'm all like feeling him, and I'm just like, oh, he's from Senegal, like he had all these dope things about him that was like it was some synchronicities going on, right? Because I grew up, my grandmother and my aunties both married to Senegalese men. You know, it was just a lot of interesting things that was happening that I was able to connect with him with. And then this man started talking about how he's married, and I'm just like disappointed, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just like, damn, you fine in a bitch, like you look good, you dress good, you know what I'm saying, you talking good, we got a lot of things in common, and then you talking about you married. So then I'm like, oh, you said you married. I said, that's I'm disappointed. That's sad, you know what I'm saying? But and then it's like, then he goes into trying to convince me, right, about why like all married men, or why he's basically was saying like, what did he say? He said all the good men are married. He had, like, it was so funny that he said all the good men are married. And I was just like, wow, are you fucking serious? Because that is so narcissistic to say. Because it's like, how is you claiming you a good man, but you out here cheating on your wife? You know what I'm saying? So it was just interesting to hear that perspective and him be like, he said, all the good men are married. And I was just like, bruh, what? That don't even fucking make sense to me. And I said, and it's really not fair to say, you see what I'm saying? Because you discourage a motherfucker from even trying to get married. You know what I'm saying? But it just brought a new perspective though, because then it was just like, wow, you know, because the very next day, I ended up going back to the same spot, and another man approached me this day. And I was like, and because of the previous day of me meeting the guy that was married, I told myself, like, I'm going to ask these niggas if they married first before I even engage in any type of conversation with them or anything like that. So once again, it's the same thing. Like, oh, you sit over here by yourself. You can join us. Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I was like, are you married? And he was like, yeah. So here's the thing. It's like, y'all be there. The thing about it is they think they're doing something. They think they manipulating by being open and upfront and honest about them being married. Like, they think that somehow them being honest about it is somehow a good, like, it makes them put them in a good light or something like that. And what I'm Ashley Day says, and waited this long to say it, trying to see if the hooks are still in. Exactly. But see, no, now I'm talking about a different person. The next day, it was a whole nother guy. But it's so funny because the guy, as I'm telling this guy, like, nah, what did I say? So the guy from the previous day that I had been talking to, that was, like I said, was Senegalese and was married, he's walking up behind me about to come into the spot as I'm telling the guy, like, nah, I'm not. I said, I think I'm not gonna be entertaining married men today or something. I can't remember specifically what I said, like, but as I'm walking in, he comes in and he says, oh, are you talking about me? And I said, ain't nobody fucking talking about your ass, you know what I'm saying? But it was funny. It was, we all laughed and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? But it was just like, I told him, I said, look, if you're going to come over here and be sitting with me, you're going to be, I said, you're going to be my wingman. I said, because I am not looking for no married men. And I said, if I'm sitting here talking to you, then when a man that come in here that ain't married, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm going to be, you ain't about to be over here siphoning my energy, basically, is what I'm saying. So I just be so straight up with motherfuckers. Like, it's like, motherfuckers can't do nothing but respect it. You see what I'm saying? LOL. They all want to see if the hooks are still in after the combo. Exactly. Like, no, nigga, like, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, they love to wave their little wealth around and talk about how much money they got and all of this. Like, he had no problem with telling me he, sold his business for like $6 million and like just, and then this other guy that I met, he was a car salesman. And like, girl, before the first, like, I would say before the first 3 minutes, like, before I even got a chance to sit down and, well, no, I sat down, and as we're sitting up there, he's like, oh, my name is so-and-so, I do this and da-da-da-da, and whatever. Now he's talking about how he stays on Apollo Beach and, like, pulling in his phone, showing me his patio, how he lives right off the beach and how he's doing some construction work or, contractor work in his backyard, and how, I'm just like, why is that? Like, why do you feel so comfortable with sharing that with me? I'm a stranger, you know what I'm saying? You don't know me. Like, why is this the topic of discussion? You see what I'm saying? So, y'all, that's all I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting and it's funny to see how what type of time people be on. And just like how people, like you said, try to hook you, to manipulate you, to create a fantasy in your head, like, get you to thinking like, oh, placing yourself in some type of future with them. And they don't have no intentions of long term. It's just they trying to manipulate you real quick to get whatever their ulterior motives are. And once they, whenever they get whatever ulterior motives they got going on, then move on with whatever on to the next, right? Their next victim, right? And that's why I'm saying these motherfuckers be predators. That's what I'm saying. That's how I can explain that. The best thing that I can explain is predator energy. That's what the first guy that I told y'all about, that's what it was. Like, I see something in his eyes and I'm just like, why are you looking at me like that? You know what I'm saying? It was very predator feeling like. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, exactly. Good for you. That's your money, not mine. Exactly. You can't make me feel no type of way about the money that you got. You not doing nothing with, okay, you're treating me while I'm here at this location, at this place. Good for you. But it's like, at the end of the day, even if you was about to spend, a good amount of money on me, like I said, intentions matter to me. I don't want to deal with nobody who got evil spirits attached to them. They got bad intentions. Like I said, I could just tell by his energy. Like, first of all, his whole forehead was all frowned up right here. I'm like, nigga, you look mean. Like, I can tell you're real mean for real. Like, you out here. And he was just overly, like, just loud and just trying to demand all the attention in the room. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, see. So it's been a while. I told myself, like, I ain't going back to that damn cigar bar. I'm wait maybe, a month or so before I go back, because, you know what I'm saying? It's just the energy. Like, I love the ambiance though, y'all. The ambiance is a vibe. Like, they got this little fire pit, little outdoor patio section that I always sit at. Like, nice, comfortable chairs. I be out there just really just scrolling through TikTok and just smoking my cigar, vibing, and I, of course, I'm there because I be wanting to meet somebody that's gonna be nice, that's gonna be worth, the network, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, when you have a lot of just slimy, like I said, predatory energy around, then it seems like that's what I've been getting. So it's like, okay, maybe the cigar bar is not the place to go. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna meet mature folks, but it's like, nah, it's more like more narcissistic energy, because and when you think about people who are like, even if, let's say, they're not necessarily wealthy or anything, but like they want to create a persona. So that's why I notice a lot of people that hang out at these spots, they want to create a persona that they got it like that. You know what I mean? So that's a very narcissistic energy. So now I'm starting to kind of put the dots together and the puzzle pieces together and just be like, okay, so yeah, that environment brings a lot of narcissistic energy. So then it's like, I'll be on super 10, like super protective mode, super observant mode, and I'll be a lot of times, like, people don't realize that I know that they're watching me, right? But I everywhere I go, I be going by myself. So like, I'm a very vigilant person. Like, I may pretend like I don't know what's going on around me, but my head be on a motherfucking swivel. I got eyes on the back of my motherfucking head. Okay, I be peeping. I be knowing exactly who's sitting back, being a predator, watching me before they come and talk. Because that's exactly how it was the first guy, not the first guy, but no, the first guy too. I seen him seeing me as I was walking by. But the second guy that I told you about, who was Senegalese, who talked about he was married, he was sitting at a table that was over, and I kept seeing him going, like, trying to get my attention, or trying to get me to look over at him and shit like that. And I just would not give him no eye contact, because that's the thing too, is like, if you can't approach me and you can't just come walk over and talk to me, you see what I'm saying? Then it's like, men be wanting you, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna say men, but narcissistic energy they get that fun from that chase, right? They want to feel like a motherfucker is trying to chase them, or whatever. So yes, y'all. Anyway, I thank y'all so much for joining the live and vibing with me today, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get on up out of here, and I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna where is the normal communication at exactly? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I actually asked one of the guys too. I was like, you know how people say if you want to find a good man, then you need to go to Home Depot? I was like, is that true? I'm like, because apparently it ain't the cigar bars. Like, where? I was like, where is it that you go for real to really find good energy? It's not even just about finding a good man, but like, just good energy, right? Good energy. So yeah, that's exactly what I was asking. So I feel you on that. I am Ashley Dage. I feel you on that. That's a good question, okay? But yes, y'all, I'm sending y'all so much love. Thank y'all so much for vibing with me today, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next live. All right, peace and love, mwah, and mwah.